Uploads documents according to labels. Here we're going to see how we can use a system task to move documents based on the labels or to change the values of the labels that are in a library field. So here we see this first operation. We're going to upload documents from a source library to a destination library. We're going to use as a reference or filter the labels value. So here we can see there's a source library and we have several documents. Some of them are approved and other documents are obsolete. So with this system task, we could actually grab all the documents that have been approved and drop them into a different library. And then in the destination, here we can see that we've got all the approved documents in this library here. We could also grab all the ones that have the status obsolete and move them to another library that's called obsolete. Okay. This feature that we're going to explain now, it's going to allow us to remove the document physically from the source library. So basically here, we're moving the document from one library to another one. We're not copying, because previously we've seen other ways of copying documents from a source to a destination. But here we're actually moving the document. Besides, the destination library has to be set up with file system storage. So it's only going to offer us as destination libraries those libraries that have the storage in file system. And here's the second operation that we can perform with the same system task. We can modify the labels of a library. So basically when the flow enters the system task and it performs this operation, it could modify all the labels or certain labels of the library. For example, here, it's going to modify the label status of all those documents that previously had been approved, and is going to change them to verified. Here I'm going back to the class and process that we were configuring, and we can see I have a system task. It's called, well, it's system task 3. And if I click on it, we can see the configuration. Here what we're going to do is upload documents according to labels. So this would be the function that we'd select of the type of system task uploader. Then we'd click on the button create and this window would pop up. The first thing we're going to do is give it a name and select the type of operation we want. Remember we mentioned there's two different operations. The first one allows us to upload documents and modify the labels. And this operation here, all we're going to do is modify labels. So if I click here on modify labels, it's going to tell me, okay, what does it apply to? All the documents, only the latest versions, only the latest documents. And then here we can add conditions. General conditions, for example, the process start date has to be greater than whatever other date. Or let's say maybe the process has to be in a certain status, in a certain field, or a certain general condition has to be met in order for this to happen. But we could also base our conditions according to the labels of the library. This would be similar to something that we've already seen. Remember when we were uploading lines or updating values in a group of fields, and we could condition per each line of a group of fields. Where here it would be similar, because in a library, basically what we have, it's a grid where we have all the documents. Each document would be a row in the grid, and each column would be the different labels that our documents have. And here we could base our conditions on these labels. So for example, if in the label status the value is approved, then I want to change the label. Okay, so here we'd set up conditions, either general conditions or conditions here by labels. We could also combine them. So only if it meets these general conditions and the labels are whatever, then we're going to change the value. And then here we'd select the source library where we have the documents that we want to modify the labels. And down here we can add here. We'd say, in this case, it only has one label. Okay, so we'd say, okay, in the label description, it's a multiple line text label. We want to modify its value, so here we mark yes. And here it says, what value do you want to upload into this label? Do you want to indicate it manually, as I've done here? Or do you want to select a panel field? And based on whatever value is in this panel field, we want to upload it into the label description. In this case, I just indicated something manually. That means that when the flow goes through the system task, let me see if I have any conditions. I don't. So all the documents of this library here, all of them in the label description are going to contain already checked. Now, why do we do this? Because once the flow goes through this personal task, here we check the documents. So when the flow goes down here to this other system task, we change the status, or we change the label in those documents to already checked. And later on, there's another point in the process. I think it's somewhere over here, right at the end of the process where we also modify labels. So here we also gave it a name. We indicated we only want to modify labels to all the documents of this library that's called selected documents. And here we've added a value to the description label that says this document has been already sent. Okay. So we've seen how to configure the system task. We're going back to the presentation.